Hey there, this is Isolde Trachtenberg. I hope you enjoyed today's encore show. This is an encore posting of the Self-Made Creative podcast, as this show used to be called. New episodes will return May 29th with the inimitable Ryan Hayashi. Until then, if you like what you're hearing, please rate, review, and comment. Subscribe to the show so I can keep bringing you the best content for your creativity, your business, and your life.
Hello, my loves, and welcome to today's episode of The Self-Made Creative. My name is Isolde T, and I'm super happy you're here. Here's where I explore how to succeed at the crossroads of creativity and business. Today I want to talk about serendipity and synchronicity. Maybe serendipitous synchronicity or synchronous serendipity. I'm not sure which. Here's the thing about that. When we're talking about being creative, when we're talking about succeeding, sometimes things are just left up to chance. We don't have a way of affecting or impacting what's going on around us. We can only stay in the present moment. Whether you are creating a work of art, for example, a painting or a drawing, and let me talk about myself now for a second. When I create a painting or a drawing, I'm almost always sorely disappointed with what I've done because it never comes out how I envision it in my head. Sometimes I get lucky and it comes out better. Most often I look at it and go, oh, 6-year-old could have done better. But here's the thing. When I'm doing something, adding that last line, I have to think to myself, oh, what's going to happen? Well, sometimes I'm adding that last line or that last bit and a cat jumps up, knocks my elbow. I think it's all ruined. And then when I look at it in a minute, it goes, hey, wait a minute. That line was supposed to be there. Very cool. A few months ago, during the supermoon, my husband and I were out taking photographs of the moon, and synchronously, serendipitously, I happened to have it completely set up for a shot and then hit the shutter too early, earlier than I thought I needed to. And it just so happened that a plane was flying directly in front of the moon. So I have this amazing photograph of a plane flying directly in front of the moon that I never would have gotten if I tried to plan for it. It was a complete accident. It was serendipitous. I just happened to have a reflex. My hand hit the shutter release and it worked. About 20 years ago now, where my husband and I were living in Hyattsville, Maryland, we got broken into. But here's the thing. A few weeks before we got broken into, I was walking down the stone steps of my bandmate's house where we're rehearsing, and the light didn't come on. It was nighttime, and I fell, and the violin fell, and it cracked. And I've had this violin since I was 9 years old. It's a fantastic instrument, and I love it, and it broke my heart when it fell and cracked. And I took it to one of the best violin fixer-upper houses in the world, really, Violin House of Weaver, and they said, yeah, we can fix it. And so it was there. And it was going to take about 3 weeks. In that 3-week time frame, I had borrowed another friend's violin, admittedly one that meant something to him, but one that wasn't quite as meaningful as I've had it for 30-some-odd years, right? And so while the violin was in the shop and while I was borrowing this friend's violin, we got broken into, as I said. And they stole my friend's violin, which is heartbreaking because it did mean something to him. And luckily we had insurance. But in the moment, the thing that sort of worked out serendipitously, if you will, is that they would have stolen my violin. They would have stolen the violin I had had since I was 9 years old, which it turns out is rather a good violin, as they told me at the House of Weaver. And if I had not fallen, I know this sounds weird, but if I hadn't fallen down the stairs and broken that violin, I wouldn't have it. And what's interesting is when they fix violins nowadays, they can make them it's like the $6 Million Man, for those of you old enough to remember that. They can make them even better and stronger than they were before. And that's what I was assured, that if they were able to fix it, and they thought they could, that the crack would be held together even more strongly than it had been before the violin had fallen and broken. So that moment of serendipity didn't seem like serendipity or synchronicity at the time, but it ended up being that way. It ended up being exactly what should have happened, because if it hadn't been broken, absolutely I would have lost it. So the question I have for you today is, what is working like that in your life? What feels like it's breaking or like it's hurting somehow, but that actually might be synchronicity working in your life to bring you something better? What line is accidentally being bumped onto your painting of your life? What do you feel like you're losing now in order to gain something even more precious later? I invite you to think about that, and I also invite you to let me know if there's something like that that's going on in your life. I'd love to hear about it. Get in touch with me, and please tell me. You can tweet me at Isolde T. I'm Isolde T pretty much everywhere. I'd love to hear from you. I want to thank you for listening today, and I want to ask you, please subscribe to the podcast if you like what you're hearing, and leave reviews wherever reviews for podcasts happen. It would mean the world to me to hear what you're thinking about what I'm doing. Until next time, I send you my love.
Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're new, and please tell your friends about the community we're building here. Today's episode was produced by Isolde Trachtenberg and is copyright Isolde Trachtenberg 2019. Today's music was from Kevin MacLeod, Laser Groove, and Ave Marimba, brought to you by Creative Commons License 3.0. As always, please remember this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, although we can always hope. Until next time, I send you all of my love.